Meet Kathy Anderson. Kathy, what are you going to do today for us?
Well, a little while ago, I discovered the secret to fabulous paintings, and it's simplification. When you go out there and you see like a massive landscape with a million trees, or for me, because I'm so much into flowers, I go out and I look at a giant hedge of forsythia or a giant hedge of quince, and you think, where do I begin with something like that? How do I simplify something like that? That is what I would like to talk to you about today.
Give us, Kathy, give us a little studio tour. I've been in your studio. I've had the pleasure, but that's great. Didn't your son build this studio for you?
My son built this studio actually out of timber frame. It's incredible. Over there is the old part of my studio, with all my friends' paintings hanging on the wall. That over here is paintings that are finished or not, mostly not, once in a while. But I have this beautiful timber frame. And coming over this way, this is the area that I work in. I have beautiful views out the window of the woods, but obviously the shades are all down now. This is where I work with a big monitor over here. And then I have my little couch, which people say, oh, you would have so much more room in your studio if you didn't have a couch. But, that's where I do all of my looking at my books. And
is that Kathy, is that the casting couch?
Here's the most important part of my studio.
Notice how she just skipped right over that.
Look at my books. See how far they go? From there all the way down to there.
It would be nice if you could actually bend down to be able to get to them.
I can, but usually I can't get up then. I have to stay and look at them on the floor. But I always tell my students when I teach that all your answers are in your books. Here I am. Am I here?
You're there.
Yeah. All your answers are in your books. When I have a problem, no matter what it is, I know exactly what book to go to find the answer. And I sit down on my comfy couch with my cats, and I go through the books, and they're like, boom, I find the answer. And I run back to my easel. It's so exciting.
So are you finding the answer by looking at the pictures, or by reading?
No, looking at the pictures. I've never actually read any of those books.
Well, you have to learn how to read first.
I read what?
I said you have to learn how to read first.
I know, I missed that part. No, Richard Schmid's books, Alla Prima, cover to cover, and Sherry McGraw's drawing book, cover to cover. Otherwise,
I gotta probably mention that you had the pleasure of being a member of the Putney Painters and getting to know Richard very deeply and Nancy Guzik. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us just briefly about that and what were your biggest takeaways? Because how many years did you spend with Richard? 10, 20?
Oh, I joined the Putney Painters in 2000. It was when they just about first started. So what is that? 21 years. Yeah. I didn't get to see Richard over COVID for obvious reasons. So the last time I saw him would have been when COVID kind of started. But Nancy and I are still very close. And I can tell you absolutely, what did I learn from the Putney Painters? What did I learn from Richard and Nancy? It makes no difference what you paint. It's how you paint it. I saw Richard take the most mundane things that I would think, what the heck is he going to do with that? And turn it into the most exquisite painting. And sometimes when I stop and I say to myself, like, oh, maybe here I am painting this again. I wanted to do it when I started, otherwise I would never start. And then I remember, it's how am I going to interpret this? How am I going to paint this so beautifully that everyone will just be stopped in their tracks? And that's what I learned from them, really. Doesn't your subject, if you're madly in love with your subject, that's the key.
Well, you are madly in love with your subject. I mean, I know you have a beautiful garden and you like to pull in flowers, and you have kind of a season where you can get flowers. What do you do when you can't?
A lot of times over the winter, I'll be working on paintings that I started. And that's one of the things I go over a lot, is how to work on paintings that are started, because I try to keep up with the flowers as I'm going, and then I don't have time to finish the painting because the next thing is blooming. So I have to try to get far enough that I can go back successfully using photos, using my memory, because I paint from life 90% of the time. Things I have difficulty finishing without from life are some of my landscapes, because I need to be out there in the atmosphere. You know, the flowers are, I guess, are so embedded in me that I can paint them from my head almost. So.
Oh, well, all right. So let's get started on simplification.
Okay, so I decided this is like so fortunate, because it wasn't how I was going to start this presentation. But I had a workshop yesterday, my first Zoom workshop of a 3-session and with the Scottsdale Art School, and this was my demo. So can you see the yeah, here's the setup, and here's my demo that I did yesterday in 2.5 hours. And as soon as I set it up, I said, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. Why did I do this? Because I realized 2.5 hours with talking, how was I going to do this? So I started to breathe like Nancy Guzik teaches me. Stop, calm down. You know you can do it. So the first thing, and I almost never draw first unless I don't know where my head's supposed to be. Where's my head supposed to be? I never, unless it's something like architectural, something more difficult, I might draw with charcoal. But otherwise I never draw. But I realized that to do something like this, so I don't know if you can see how well you can see this, but this is all I did. I did a very, very rough charcoal drawing, just kind of to make this boing, boing, you know, make the shapes, just so I could see, you know, certainly no drawing. And I'm putting a bird in this painting down here. But I just wanted to make sure, and already just with the charcoal, I could just sort of see the simplification of it. So I did that, and then I actually just wiped out the charcoal. I just wiped it off. But the way I started this painting is like, I thought to myself, okay, I'm not going to start painting quints. I'm not going to start painting these little tiny things one at a time. What is the feeling of this? Excuse me. What is the feeling of this setup? The feeling of this setup to me was really the movement of the I say white flowers, but they're really light values. That's so seeing the light. These are pulled out, by the way. That I'll show you later how I do that. But the light values dancing through, and the red going through. So those were my two kind of themes to keep you moving around the painting. There are certain flowers that I knew I wanted to really get, you know, exactly as they are, which were pretty much these tulips here. But for the rest of it, I had to just look at this and look at this giant. If you come back, actually, I'm going to monitor the camera right now. If you come back here, I had this large, just sort of dark value in here. So I'm kind of looking at it like that. And instead of painting it as you know, put the branches in, put the leaves in, what I did was I just did this my background color, which is in there, which by the way was transparent oxide red and Viridian Rembrandt paints. This was just one big value in here. And then I just values really close. I just put some red spots here. They're not really flowers. None of these are flowers. Just put them in very, very, because you always have to know that you can go back and put your detail over it. So this area and these areas, that's what this was like before I put in the pansy, which this is not a viola. This is not finished. It's too bright. But then I put these little things on top of it, and see how my background, I just left it. And it just gives you the feeling of the depth that's going on there. So basically that's what I'm trying to say. You know, it's the movement that I'm thinking of more. If the flowers aren't exactly that way, it doesn't matter. I can move them. I can go like this and this, and then I make sure this leaf comes down. It's pointing you down. So I'm thinking of all of this, harmonizing it with the background color that I put in first.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
If you look at the very top, that big green gap at the very top in the middle, you can see a lot of, John, zoom in on there. Yeah, right there, right there. Zoom in on that background for a second. Now you've got these wonderful brush stroke streaks. Are you painting on a a slick panel? Are you oiling things down or using medium? What are you doing to get, or using a Gamsol or something? What are you doing to get that look?
Well, first of all, this is portrait, double lead prime portrait linen on a stretched canvas.
So it's pretty smooth.
It's smooth, but you can see there is some grain there.
Yeah.
And I almost always put my first wash in with Gamsol, keeping it. Well, you're going to see it because I'm going to do a wash today. So you're going to see exactly how I put my first wash in. But I usually use Gamsol. I've been recently using a gel medium product, but I use it actually more when I'm out in the landscape. In the studio, mostly just put that on with Gamsol.
Yeah.
But I'm going to show you how I'm doing that.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to what I said this was about. We'll take this away. Pardon me if I'm sniffing. I do have a cold. I'm just going to run over here for 1 second.
Well, now all of us watching are going to catch it.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Dean already did.
Gonna get an electronic cold.
Okay.
Cold.
So this is the painting that I believe you showed, my cardinal painting that I did in my backyard. So I had my concept. Look at this bush. They're like, oh my God, how are you going to paint that, right? Who's going to be able to paint that? Nobody. But yet I did. No. So I went outside and I knew I wanted to put a cardinal in here because I see them in there. I like to be authentic with animals and birds and keep them in there, unless of course they're in my still life. That's a little different. So I went out to my yard, and what I did first, I looked around for a branch that I knew a cardinal would sit on. So that's how I decided which section. I didn't look at that giant bush. I went out there and I just thought, well, what's the anchor that I need for this painting? And it was that branch. So here's my first block in, and now you can see the close-up. That's the actual shrub. Here is my next block in where I put a little bit more of the background in. And I'm going to demonstrate this in a minute, by the way. You can see it, pardon? Oh, you can see it a little more closely here. See all this nice gray back here and the whole shrub, because the quince comes in without leaves first, just tiny suggestions of them. So that's kind of what I did here. I just put all of this kind of a gray background right here. And then I kind of pulled out, which is the way I paint a lot of the time, most of the time. And then I started putting a little bit of the flowers. When you have a mass like this, you really only need to choose a couple. And it doesn't matter where they are. If you look at this right here. I picked these from outside. So if I was going to paint this, here, let me get a little closer with that. If I was going to paint this, I would look at this quick and I would say, oh God, look at this one. That's so beautiful. I'm going to pick that one, and I'm going to make sure that one is so beautiful. But then maybe these down here, they would just be as I did back in the painting and just, back in the painting and just do this area, that kind of a thing to start. So maybe just to get me excited, I would paint a couple to fruition so that you would see how beautiful the quince bush is. Whoops, I just realized I was pointing your name. You weren't there. A couple of them to completion. Sorry. I'm not a cameraman. John just walked away. Anyway, so this is the way I started. Like I said, I went outside to my garden several times. And then the bird, this is so funny. Of course, we all know how many birds and anything you want is on the internet. This is what I use. This is a catalog. The date on it is 1987. I have a whole file with all kinds of I have a whole file with all different species of birds. Right.
So, Kathy, would
Yes.
you address the idea of painting from photographs versus painting from life?
Yes, I do. I believe in using photo reference, and usually it can only be done successfully if you have a lot of life painting experience. That's why I can paint a garden from life. I could paint in a huge painting from a photograph, excuse me. But I wouldn't even be able to get the energy or the feeling in me to try to paint a certain kind of a landscape in maybe, just trees and something that would get me so excited. John, can you hand me that tree painting over there, please? Something that would get me so excited in person in a landscape. I couldn't even imagine coming home and trying to, taking photographs and coming home. This painting I did up in Putney from life. I finished it in the studio, but the trees, these were all done from life, everything here. I went over some of these leaves and things. But I paint landscape a lot. I was a member of the Rocky Mountain Plein Air Painters, and actually I used to always go for the flowers there too, the aspen trees I love so much.
You and Roger Rossi. I have a landscape painting that you gave me that you painted out at the Flume in the Adirondacks when you came up to the Adirondack event one year.
Well, I'm happy that you have that. Now it's time for you to buy
I
one
am
of
too. I'm waiting for you to die so the value goes up.
Okay, so I just
skipped right past that one too.
I did.
I wouldn't want that to happen, Kathy. I love you.
Well, it's gonna happen, Eric. So here is what I was going to show you. So I did this. Whoops, this is too much in the way. I'm afraid to. Is that in the way too much?
A little bit.
I can't move it. Here, can you move that table just a tiny bit?
Everybody give a thumbs up and a heart for John, the cameraman / husband.
Studio boy.
Studio boy.
That's what he's known as, actually. Okay, so this is the way I did this in advance, but this is how I might start something like this. That's what I was talking about. I think my background was transparent oxide brown and ultramarine, and mostly I use Michael Harding and Rembrandt and Michael Harding paints, but it was just a wash with turpentine. It totally gives you the feeling of what was going on here, right? So that's all I really needed. And then I started pulling out some of the branches. This was something different. I started doing this and then I didn't finish. But this is the way I would start it. I might not pull this many branches out. I did pull out this branch. When I say pull out, I'm going to show you in a second. But I would pull out this branch. Can I just ask how much time I have left?
You have, let's see, we've got about 35 minutes or so.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. Ooh.
You shouldn't have said that. Here we go.
I'm regretting it already.
Okay, so John, if you want to come over to my palette for a second. Actually, I've recently started wearing gloves. Never wore them before in my life, but I'm starting to become conscious of all this paint that I'm using. So if I take some ultramarine and I'm going and the transparent oxide brown, that's what I was going to use.
You get a beautiful neutral.
Yeah, I want you to see how soupy I'm going to make it too. Here's that gel I was talking about, but I'm not going to use that.
What kind is it?
It's Gamblin, actually. It's a very nice product.
Yeah, I use that too, and I also use Rubloff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're about the same. I mean, I'm sure there's a difference, but I like them both. I just happen to grab whatever I have handy.
Okay, so you see how soupy this is?
Yeah.
Now here's when I have live classes and the students try to do this wash, I see this. Whoops, that's too much blue. The second I put it down, if I have too much of one or the other, I remove it. I see them go like this. And that's not the point of this. The point of this wash is to get it on there. Just get it on there. And you can see that in, my other painting's gone. I can't put it up right now. But see, now this is a little too brown. Okay, no problem. Just put a little more blue in. But lots of turp, nice and juicy. If it drips, I don't care. I'm just gonna clamp. You can see this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And we're loving it.
I guess I shouldn't say this, but you know, sometimes I don't understand why it's I don't know how to put this. Why it's so hard to do this. I mean, because I see it time and again.
Well, I think, some people are just, when they're first starting out, they're just a little timid and maybe not used to being a little bit reckless.
Well, I got this too brown, by the way. Just so I do a little bit. I guess it's something like that. That's why I love to try to say, like, it's, paint is just like, it's so forgiving. You can just, if I can go right, I can wipe it all off. It doesn't matter so much. And you don't want it to be perfect. You don't want to see, the main thing I like to say about when I do a wash is that I get to leave a lot of this stuff. Like, oh, I have something to show you. Yeah. John, can I have that pansy painting right there, please? Perfect example of what I'm talking about. If you're careful when you start with the wash, so can you focus in on this area, John?
Yeah,
oh, can you see
good,
it? Yeah. So see this area right here? I
Yeah.
don't always leave it like this loose, but I decided to do it on this painting because I was really, my wash actually was lighter, but I put this in as a mass, just a mass of green and brown. And it came out so pretty
Yeah,
because
sure is.
it was mixed colors and, it wasn't fussy. And I said, oh, I'm just going to leave it this time. Because a lot of times what I'll do is I'll go over it like this with just a few edges here and there. And those edges with that beautiful transparent background is what gives you the opaque, excuse me, I don't know how to talk. That wasn't this. The depth, the opaque over the transparent is what gives you that feeling of depth.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
anyway.
I'm going to keep you on task here because we're going to run out of time.
Oh, okay.
Keep you. Okay.
You just told me I had 35 minutes.
I know, but I know how you are.
If I was
John's laughing because he's lived with it for 51 years.
Yeah, you bet.
So if I was going to do this, I would probably, I don't need to pull out like, this is what I meant by pulling out. I don't need to pull out like this for a branch because I don't mind going over this color. But this is what I would do if I was going to pull out. If I was going to do my whole painting, I might go like this. And I would think about, I'm looking at the branch. You can see this mass over here of quince. And I'm looking, whoops. I'm looking at the quince because I want it to be authentic. This branch is not a line. That's not a branch, right? This is a branch. Up, down, up, down. That's a branch, that kind of thing. Up, down. Make it beautiful. Make it so beautiful. And then if I was out there, I might want to just go like that so that the bird was, whoops. Do you realize the thing I say the most when I do these things are whoops? That's my favorite word. Whoops.
Whoops. All right, everybody put it in the comments. Whoops. Wow, look how quickly that comes together, just drawing with paper towel.
But I would do the bird probably in the studio. I might put him out there, but who knows. But anyway, then so this mass of the quince here, what did I say, right? Pull it out, just pull it out. And by the way, when I want to paint a beautiful, transparent, clear, colored flower, I like to do it on a white canvas because it makes it sing on a white canvas if you paint. If I paint a flower, now if I was a real alla prima painter that used heavy, thick paint, I could go right over this. But because I paint thin and build up, I need to have the white canvas. So I'm just thinking of a mass of the flowers here, right? And then I would take, okay, now, Eric, you have me a nervous wreck.
I've done my job.
With my time. Okay, so
Ah,
Here I. Where's my garbage? Over there. Thank you. Okay, so okay, here's the biggest thing I learned from Richard Schmid: clean, clean, clean. He used to say, whatever is on the palette is going to wind up on your painting. So if you want ultramarine and transparent oxide brown flowers, keep your palette clean. That's my motto. So if I wanted to I'll take a little cad red and maybe a little alizarin and a touch of brown.
Just trying to get a little tighter on it.
Yeah. And I'm just going to put it in kind of like this,
yeah.
Now, I'm not worried here about anything because I know I'm going to turn these into flowers.
If you guys are enjoying this, make sure you share it and hit the like or the heart button. That way other people will see it.
Maybe nobody will hit it. See, now when it's going into the shadow, do you see that I don't mind picking up some of the background because it just makes it a little bit darker. So once I get to this stage, I'm going to do this like so fast because I know Eric's just going to take the big hook and drag me off the stage.
I'll do that at the plein air convention. I'm going to actually bring a big hook.
You actually did that to me once. I won't tell anyone. Although I just did, didn't I? I just did. You're right. Take a little alizarin. I'm just going to do one flower. Supposing I just have one. See, I'm going right over the transparent background. And then I'll add a little white to the red. A little white with maybe a little yellow. A little more red in. And I'll turn it into, and of course, people are probably saying like, well, yeah, she's doing that, but I could never do that. And you know why you couldn't do it for the most part is drawing. If you must have your drawing skills under your belt, you just have to have them. One of my favorite quotes that I always say is, "Through knowledge comes freedom," which means I'm free to do whatever I want because I don't have to think about the drawing. See, because although this is a crappy drawing, so I'm just contradicting myself right now. But I don't have to think about it once you get your drawing skills. So I'm just showing you how I could pop out one of the little quinces. I'm not going to fuss to finish painting it right now. And have I lost the part about simplifying?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about what's this got to do with simplifying?
Absolutely nothing. No. Okay.
No, it's very simple the way you've done it, but I think you could touch on that a little bit.
Okay, like all the leaves, right? Like right now the leaves are out with the flowers. So all the leaves, I would put them in like this. Maybe sometimes I'd leave a few holes of the gray coming through, but I would put them in the same thing. I would do the same thing again. I'd put them in like a whole thing like this, just as a mass. I might get the value. I would look up there and put a value that's a little darker here. And then
is John there? Because I've had a request to zoom in a little bit.
Sure.
I don't know if I can get too much closer.
Yeah, because there's no place for me to stand.
That's all right. You can stand.
That's okay. We got it.
All right.
So supposing I wanted to put some leaves on here now, right? Something like that.
Wow, just made that three-dimensional suddenly.
Something like that. And then I might go back and pop it in. But I have to tell you, this just comes from a lot of experience of doing it and doing it from life. See how I can pop that out then. And I think to myself, oh, well, there's got to be some branches there, right? So, all right, maybe I'll make the branch go up there. In other words, now I'm picking my branches. I'm using my subject to get the accuracy of the quality of what I'm painting. But for the most part, I'm sort of just designing it as I go.
Well, what I want to do is emphasize what you've done here in case somebody missed that. And that is that you've taken the complex subject with all the crazy little flowers and you've clumped them into a couple of big shapes.
That's exactly what I've done. Thank you, Eric, for
You're
noticing.
welcome, Kathy. I'll be your interpreter anytime.
I always need an interpreter. So that's what I would do. Basically, I would go back and forth until I made it like, whoops, I'm pointing, but I'm not, until I made it into something like this. And then I would make judgment decisions, like having my darks, paying attention to where they're going, paying attention to where the greens are going. In other words, I'm just, it's it's simplifying it down a little bit. It's really hard to explain this fast, but I'm hoping that.
Do you try to connect your darks?
I do. I think about that very, very much. Like, look, can you point to this one, John? See, look at that. A little dark here, dark there. And I'll show you. Getting back to this painting. See, I'm keeping my darks going down here. There's going to be something down here because these are going to be branches. See, it's the same. I'm doing the same thing here. There's a million branches over there, but I didn't paint them all. I just, I pulled out some of them. I'm going to paint over this, of course, but it's so freeing to do it like this. I pulled this out with my brush and with a little terp on it. So that's what I'm saying. So
hey, we have somebody. First time I've
now
seen
how much time
someone
do I
from
have?
Korea tuning in. Hello, Korea. Make sure you guys tell us where you're watching from. I see
Wow.
Nancy is watching. Kathy.
Nancy Guzik?
Yeah, she says you're giving us so much good information. I mean, that's a little intimidating to have somebody like Nancy watching.
Well, then I'm just going to say that practically everything I know, I've learned from Richard and Nancy.
Yeah.
and here,
lady.
I'm going to tell you one of Nancy's quotes that I use all the time also. When you're finished with the painting, she says, go up here, John, please. Thank you. She said, now I'm looking over my whole painting to make sure every inch of my painting is beautiful, that there isn't one spot that somebody would stop and not think was beautiful. And that doesn't mean that it's finished. It just means that it's beautiful, every spot. Right, Nance? Oh, gosh. How much time do I have, Eric?
Oh,
Another
you're
half hour?
okay. You're fine. You've got another 10, 15.
What?
We'll get Nancy to come on the show when she's ready. We'll get her on here.
Okay, then I'll keep going here.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, okay. So
now we can have the audience chime in and the audience will direct you and tell you what they want you to work on.
oh, I would love that. Oh my God, I would love that so much. I would just love that.
They'll start talking here in a second. We'll
Okay.
find out what do you guys want Kathy to focus on in this painting? I know what they're going to say.
What?
Well, let's wait. I don't want to bias them. Cardinal, please. Hello, Australia.
Please.
Nice to hear you from Australia. Yeah, Cardinal, please.
Okay.
The bird.
If I was going to start this cardinal, I would do the same as I do a flower. I would put in a wash. I'd probably use Cad Red. This is just Cad Red and Terp. I'd probably put in a wash like this. First of all, I can tell you I'd be so careful with the drawing, which I obviously have not done right now. And I would put in the value of the brightest part of them here. And then the value, I'd take a little of my Cad Red with maybe some blue. And I'd put this value in here. It's a little hard because I'm on an angle here.
Yeah, it's hard to do that and be on camera at the
I
same
know.
time.
It goes up like this. See what I would take so careful with the drawing. I can tell you though, all I can really tell everybody that I think is so important to know is that things that used to make me just cry and cry because I couldn't get it and all of a sudden And it only took about 15 years.
Well, you're
Well,
slow.
Right. Most people aren't as slow as I am, but all of a sudden I can do things because you can't give up. That's the main thing, is you just can't give up. Now I'm
That is
painting
so
this more
important.
alla prima right now, and I can't even see what I'm doing because I'm on the side. But
Yeah.
for example, you want to get your value in of the where he's in the light, or you want to have the form, I should say, so that he's a little lighter in the center of his little tummy. And then you want to make sure you have the dark part of his, and it looks to me like I might have him, but I'm not worried about drawing now, because what do you want from me in a half hour? Really.
Oh, we want a finished painting, of course.
Then I might look at his little face and, okay, so I guess this is a very interesting question. I guess when you say the bird, we'd like to see the bird. I'm really just painting him. So I would love that person to tell me, what about the bird?
There were several people. Well, somebody said the shadows. I want to ask you a question related to this. So
Sure.
let's look at this subject, and you have two masses. One mass is the bird, the other mass are the flowers. Let's say that you wanted the bird to be in the painting, but you really wanted to draw most of your attention to the flowers. Would you then define the bird less, keep it softer like it is now, and really sharpen up the flowers so you're drawing the eye there? What would you do?
Well, to start with, I wouldn't put him there. I mean, what would be, I guess I could put him there and put him in a deep shadow, but I probably wouldn't put him there. That would be to start. Yes, of course, it would be to keep him a little bit more subdued. But in a lot of my I like to put birds in a lot of paintings, and in a lot of them, you almost don't. I have a painting that I did many years ago of a bird sitting in a giant thing of pansies, and a couple of people said to me, "Oh, I didn't even see the bird. I see oh my gosh, there's a bird there. I didn't see the bird."
That's what I call an Easter egg. Right? It's a surprise. It's a pleasant surprise.
It's a pleasant surprise, I hope. But I love to paint like a deer that's hidden in the woods or something like that. So I think the main answer for me, I wouldn't put him there. I might have him, if I was doing this painting up here. I don't know. I'm trying to think, where would I put him? I might have him smaller so that you would, oh my gosh, look, there's a cardinal. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's probably what I would do.
Okay.
Is make him smaller. Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, anything particular else? Because otherwise this is how I would do it.
Why don't somebody put in the comments that'd like to see you develop a couple of flowers?
Oh, sure. And I was just going to develop a couple of the leaf areas, but certainly I will do that right as soon as I do this. See how I had it up there, and in that this is kind of like, this would be like more of a and then his little feet would come down there. That would be more of where I was going to
oxide brown plus green.
Plus, it was transparent oxide red, that one, plus Viridian, and then I dipped into a little bit of cad yellow. Okay, so more flowers. So fun. By the way, Nancy is the one that taught me, because I used to say, Nancy, your yellow flowers are so gorgeous. They just like sing. They're so beautiful. And she would say, well, the trick is to paint them on a white surface. And she is so right. I mean, I guess if you took yellow paint and blobbed it on there, then that would be the same thing. Okay, so I'm taking I just took a little cad scarlet, develop some of the flowers. Let's see. Let's just make this one a little richer and cleaner. Let's see. I'm just going to look at the bush there. Oh, let's see, maybe if that one was, oh, here's something that's really exciting and important is you have to realize that if this one is looking straight at you, maybe this one would be looking up, right? If they all look straight at you, then you've lost the entire feeling of what's going on in the shrub. So if that one was down, maybe I would put this one going up, right? I put a little bit too much yellow in there. No big deal. Right? And then maybe, see, now you're going to find out that I actually can't paint flowers.
I wouldn't believe that for a minute.
Eric's like, God, whose idea was it to invite her here?
Yeah, well, we've always loved having you, Kathy.
Sorry. So, I would put a few together. I'd have a couple overlap, maybe. I mean, if you want me to paint just one little flower, that's
I think you just paint whatever you want to paint.
okay. So I'm fixing this now, but you
All
see,
right.
by the time I finish doing all this, or sometime maybe I'll just go like that. Look, because I didn't have the paint mixed on my brush. But then, of course, in order to make it look like anything, you still have to go back and let me go look at a little bud there. Oh God, they're so beautiful. The quince buds are so beautiful. You got to get the bud in there, right? You got to get the back of the bud. And I'm not just going to go, okay, I need a green thing. Green, green, green. No, it goes in a way, that bud's up there. So maybe this one's coming down, because that's what they do. And maybe that one's like that. And this one could be really dark here. And oops, I know what's wrong here. I didn't put the center here.
Well, are you using a sable brush or a comber on the flower?
This is a Rosemary Kolinsky Sable. This one
All right.
is like one of my favorite brushes. No, it's not a comber. Excuse me. It's a I guess it's just a little bright, right?
Yeah.
Very nice brush. Actually, I do love to use the extra long clips. Can't find it right now, so the heck with that. Okay, so I might want to go like that and put that like that. And then, oh, what was I doing? I was doing the green. I forgot. All of a sudden, I don't have to paint every one of them. I just have to paint. Oh, look how beautiful this little section is getting. Does anybody want to buy this right here?
Yeah,
I'm just kidding, Eric. Don't worry.
I'll auction it off right now. Okay.
So, by the way, I'm so excited to go to the convention. I forgot if I mentioned this already, but I am going to be doing this sort of thing. Did I already say this? I think I already said it.
No. You talked to me about it before we went on air.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to be doing something like this, only more. I think I finagled an hour and a half. They were trying to give me an hour, and I said, "What do you want from me? Look how old I am. Look, I can't do anything in an hour." So here we go.
Well, everybody's going to be glued to the stage. I announced last week that we also are offering the conference virtually. So if anybody can't make it to Santa Fe, they can watch the main stage online, and you're going to be on the main stage.
I know. Thank you.
Well, you have friends in high places.
Who, Allie?
Well, she does run the thing.
I know. Okay, please. Anything else? I'd love to do something else.
Actually, this is a good time to have you come back on screen so everybody can see your smiling face in case they missed it. And because we can't possibly get it done. John, thank you so much for the camera work.
Sure.
Kathy, you are amazing.
I've been telling you that for a long time.
Yeah, and finally I'm starting to understand. As you can tell, Kathy and I have become very good friends over the years. I don't even remember where we originally met. Maybe at Putney Painters.
I think
It
so.
was at Putney Painters. It was. You're
Yeah.
right. It was, and you ran some magazine, and I didn't know it. I never heard of it.
It was either this one Was it this one? Or maybe it was this one. Well,
I can't
oh, you
see.
can't even see me. I hit my mouse with the magazine. There you go. That one, it was probably that one. I think the first issue of Plein Air, we put a Richard painting on the cover.
Oh,
I think so.
okay.
Yeah. So Kathleen is going to be on at the Plein Air convention and teaching more in depth. And of course, she will be out painting with us. She'll be a field painter. That means she's there to help you. And what a great opportunity. And we get to see each other in person again. Won't that be wonderful?
I love that. I had so much fun seeing everybody for the first time in so long at Portrait Society, and that will be just as fun. I just wanted to say that Eric is very nicely putting my workshops up, that I have a few coming up, but I wanted to mention the one I'm having at the studio of Everett Raymond Kinsler, which is just like so magnificent to teach in that venue.
Oh yeah, and what a sweet man. We miss him.
Miss him a lot.
Well, we're putting your workshop information, your website in the comments section so everybody can find it there.
Thank you.
And not only that one, but future ones if they want to look for it. And thank you so much, Kathy. It's been a pleasure having you on today. We always have a lot of fun. I should mention that Kathy has a couple of incredible videos out with us. She has one called Bringing the Garden Indoors with Kathy Anderson. She has another one calling How to Paint Flowers Outside. That painting there is my bedroom window.
Mhm.
And it was really interesting the way you tubed the flowers and how you put those together. And then we have this one, painting the flowers in the studio. All of these are at painttube.tv. So make sure you check those out. Kathy, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Eric. It's been a pleasure, and I cannot wait to see everyone in person.
Yeah, get rid of that cold before you come, okay? We don't want to spread anything.
I will.
All right.